Someone somewhere in the world ate something they weren't meant to. Now a pandemic is on the menu, and they call it Corona. It started off in China, now it's the whole world over. Economic incentives behind every decision made, using humanitarianism for public image, but the mask has been ripped away. The system teaches us to move when it affects our pockets. Economists well versed in losses, but they don't know the profits. Not my country, so it's not my problem, is the type of thinking we've been taught to harbor. So when the virus broke out, it was about the different colors of our passports in one planet. What side of whose arbitrary border we were on, under what status. An immigrant, a refugee, or an expat, or a tourist feeling jet-lagged, white-skinned and being picked up, black and brown-skinned and you get snubbed. If you're well-paid, then you jet-set. If you're underpaid, then you get left behind. And it feels like the wind brush all over again now that they need us. Clap for us and cheer us. Then the next generation down the line go back to being ungrateful and calling us leeches. Nationalism, these are its deadly features. Society started crumbling, lockdowns, people dying, and suddenly it feels so humbling. Some people got scared and they started buying everything, and the people that were too slow couldn't find anything. Most of the shelves were empty, just like our hearts. But when we're not bad by nature, this is what we've been taught. They taught us there's too many people, not enough food. It's survival of the fittest. You should think about you. Life is only enjoyment, cause nothing is really true, and money always comes first, no matter what you lose. The rich take it all and live only for today. The poor do the work and they still have to pay. Some people started selling food more than it was worth. Now we can blame them for it, but that would only make it worse. They were taught supply and demand, and at a time like this it meant more money in their hands. And they say you're only 6 weeks away from being homeless, living hand to mouth and check to check, paying rent for a place you think home is. In the West, becoming debt slaves and paying for sweatshop made products in the East made by other economic slaves, further lower down this totem pole of free trade but never fair. But when being a politician is about power and not accountability, that's why they never care. When the corporations are at a loss, as everybody's cost, taxpayer bailout, but when they profit they hoard it all and drop some crumbs on the floor. This way of life made it right for us to be treated like dogs. They warned the people to stay indoors, but they wouldn't listen. The same freedom that they thought would free them became a prison. See, when life is white, we're trying to secure Corona, but when it's black, it's 40 years of Ebola. Borders and flags used to determine sympathy, used to determine the value of a life so sadistically. People invading your space and not feeling safe in your own dominion. How does it feel? Ask the Uyghurs, the Rohingya, or the Palestinians. Millions across the world living with this virus called oppression. It rapes, it pillages, it kills, it humiliates, and takes land every second. So I suggest we count our blessings. And we as Muslims, our deen has taught us quarantine from the days of the plague. It taught us the reward of those who live and die through it and remain patient. And when it's our time to return to Allah, we can't escape it. For some that's a hard pill to swallow, but every soul shall taste it. All the money in the world can't delay our time of death. When it's our time to go, that's it, son. We're set. The best and worst of humanity comes out at times of calamity. But to think that the idea society holds has no bearing is insanity. Ideas are what shape us. They keep us fortified in times when fear is about to break us, or they make us take such wrong turns away from our creator. Is it wrong to point out the flaws of a system when it's at its most weakest position? Existential threats that temporarily unified the people, but when it disappears, where does all the peace go? What happens to the bond that's weaker than this disease? A scrap of DNA wrapped around in protein that has brought whole countries to their knees. So is it a warning for every tyrant, a wake-up call for the mindless, a message for the believers to act as a reminder, a mercy for this ummah going through worldwide suffering? Or maybe it's all of the above, and there's more to this story than just a thought of punishment.